Welcome back to another chat with Matt. We've had a bit of a break, but we're back, we're refreshed, we're ready to go, and we have another first because talking to us today is going to be Bill Taylor, who you'll remember talked to us about teamwork probably a good few months ago now, but we enjoyed it so much, we thought, why not ask him to come back? And here he is. So, Bill, how are you?
I'm well, Matt, thanks. And it's really fun to come back and have another chat with Matt. I enjoyed that a great deal. And obviously things have changed a lot and some things are the same since we last spoke.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think it's back in June. Things have changed a lot in the UK since then in terms of lockdown. We're not in a lockdown situation anymore. The business world has been shifting, no question about that. It's still very, very tough. And there's still a lot of uncertainty. So that's in the UK. How about where you are?
Well, California. I live in Southern California, and everybody's seen on the news that we are burning down to the ground with fires. We again are going through an amazingly difficult, frightening, tragic time of fires in sort of these drought conditions. We opened up. We were locked down. One of the first. We opened up, and now we're locked back down again, Matt. So. Frankly, we've not been good humanitarians to one another here, at least in California and some other U.S. cities where we've reinfected ourselves. That's been another inflection point, another disruptor in the business world. So just when we thought we had some momentum going and some rhythm, we had to shut down again. And it's been discouraging, but as always, it creates opportunity. And so our sales teams and the sales organizations, as I like to say, they're having to call one more audible, one more pivot, and try to figure out what to do differently and better.
Yeah, and it's been the theme of the chat since we started. Yeah, we've been in constant change. That we've been experiencing things that we never thought we would experience in our lifetime.
That's right.
On the bad side, as you were just describing there, with the wildfires and of course COVID, but also on the good side with senses of community and. There are great bits of humanity as well. Yes. And in what we do, as individual contributors, particularly in a sales role where we focus on sales productivity and mentor group, there has never been a more important time, in my opinion, to be managing people in the right way, to be looking after your team in the right way, to be supporting your people in the right way. And that's why, as you and I were talking, I thought, well, we should discuss more about that because I know you're deeply passionate about coaching overall.
Yes.
And in particular, sales coaching. So tell me, what's the Bill Taylor view of the world in terms of the importance of sales coaching?
Well, as you know, I'm a professional executive coach. So I work with executive C-suite people right on down through middle managers in general executive coaching engagements. We'll call that classic coaching for some degree of behavior change, excuse me, or somebody trying to transition and get promoted. Now, how that differentiates itself from sales coaching, Matt, is that it's, sales coaching is as it implies. You're working with a sales team. You're a manager of a team. You've got a team quota to hit, and you've got individuals in this crazy time that are trying to hit their numbers. And so their coaching now becomes far more specific about what is the leading indicators that of behavior that they're using to identify a suspect, identify a prospect, qualify that prospect, move it through the sales cycle toward close. And now those inflection points of every sales opportunity, a sales manager, a sales coach needs to coach their individuals to figure out where things are stalling out. So as I coach sales managers and even sellers, I'm now often, first of all, asking them a question that I typically don't ask an executive, is tell me about your leading indicators, your sales activity, what's working, what is not working. And let's not only talk about the behavior, but let's get underneath that and ask you about the context. So why is it that you're doing this? Where is your thinking? What is your context? And when I get underneath that, then we can identify the behavior and then potentially change it or coach around it to do something different than they were doing before that will give them the results they want.
So clearly very important.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think we both agree that sales coaching is very important.
It's mission
And
critical.
absolutely. And yet what we find is we get some reasons why coaching doesn't happen. It doesn't become cultural within organizations. Right. Things like, well, I don't have time. I've got to do all the analytics and the reporting. I've got to do these extra projects. Sometimes I've got to do the selling myself as well.
That's right.
What do you think then is the impact if you get one of those reasons, call them excuses if you will, but one of those reasons why coaching doesn't happen, what's the impact to performance and indeed the individual?
Yeah, the impact is dire. Number one, I believe, and this is my point of view, and I've been at this 30 years, Matt, is that I think the most important thing a sales manager should do for their team is coach them for improvement, for encouragement, for appreciation, and for high performance. That's their primary role. Certainly, they have to do all the sales diagnostics, and they have to do analytics, and they have to run the team, but it's their job. And if they don't do that job of bringing an individual and a team to a high performance level, I would say they're probably not the right fit for the job. And more in sales organizations around the world that you and I both work with, we're finding that some sales managers certainly are not succeeding. Their team isn't hitting their numbers. Their individuals are struggling. And one of the things I believe is the competency of how to coach. And it takes a coach to help others become better coaches. By the way, I'm a professional executive coach, as I mentioned earlier. I have an executive coach that keeps my game sharp. But I believe the mission critical nature of coaching is where if we're not getting the results we want, we may have the wrong person in the role as a seller, but I believe that the culprit, the person that's primarily responsible is the sales manager. They've got to have a coaching hat on. It has to be completely conversational every time they talk to their team.
So let me just be a bit provocative because I believe that to be true. Sometimes it's not the sales manager's fault, and the reason I say that is because they get a lot of pressure, they get a lot of requests, a lot of noise from senior leaders in terms of what they should be doing with their time. So if I'm a senior leader, what advice do you give to me that frees time up for that all important coaching that you're talking about?
Yeah. So, when I'm talking to senior level selling executives, whether it's CRO down through the next level of direct reports, all the way down to the team level, the question, we're business people, right, Matt? We always talk about results. So the first question is always, are you getting the results that you desire? And what are those results? And right now, results are more difficult to identify than ever before because we're in this crazy COVID environment. But I will ask that same executive, give me an overview of how you would judge or characterize the general sales support and coaching your managers are giving. And usually they don't have an answer for that, Matt, because they're so busy on the metrics. And I would say that, to what extent are you coaching your sales managers yourself as a leader? How much time are you spending? Because usually the results follow the coaching. And so gee, Bill, I'm busy. I'm running the nation. Well, you know what? Whoever your direct reports are needs your coaching to, again, pivot, audible, and do things differently. And primarily it's asking that question. So what support can I provide you? But as we talk about that, let me know the context you're working in, what you're thinking. Maybe I can provide some insights. Coaching is about providing insights to people that influence their thinking to change a bit, that therefore changes their behavior to give them the results. I came up through the 70s and 80s as a leader. I was taught attack the behavior, change the behavior, tell people to stop doing that. It wasn't until the 90s that I understood that we had to ask them, why are they behaving that way? And that's the essence of coaching, the why. Yeah. And then we get at how.
Right. So what you're saying, if I'm hearing you right, is at a senior leader level, we almost need to role model that coaching behavior so they see that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then it goes down through the organization.
I think that it's a coaching culture. Is not just in the sales organization. It needs to happen everywhere, but particularly in sales. we need to be coaching from top to bottom. It should never stop. It should be a 360 degree. It should be a 24/7 behavior of trying to help our people move toward high performance. And that means coaching, and more coaching. And as I mentioned earlier on, it's different than executive coaching in many ways, because we're all talking about a sales motion, and we need to improve along the stage gate activities to get us to the results we want.
So as we come to the end of our time then, Bill, and I'm sure you're going to be back at some
I hope
point.
so.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, I'm sure you will. Yeah. Give our listeners and our readers your top 3 coaching tips that are going to make them highly effective coaches.
Wow, that's a beauty right there. I would say the top 3 are: number 1, as a sales coach, as you're working with your team, I'm taking on the persona of a sales manager, is to ask the question, what support do you need to be more effective to meet your goals? What support do you need? Not talking about what have you closed this month, or what are you going to close this month. I think the second thing that I would encourage sales managers and sales leaders to ask of the people that report to them is, what is the context of your thinking right now? How do you see the world around the behaviors and the results you're trying to achieve? What has changed? By the way, these are open-ended questions. These are consultative questions. And the third one is then, let's get specific about an action plan. Now that we've identified 1 or 2 things that need to improve, let's put it in a plan. Let's take a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day approach to support you to move that behavior and that thinking to give us the results we want. So we can quantify, we can figure out the return on the investment of coaching, and we can measure the before and the after. Those 3 things.
Perfect, Bill, perfect. And to summarize all the conversation that we've had, what we're saying is, actually, coaching's not a choice. It's not something that you elect to do or not. Coaching is something which is going to drive predictable, measurable performance and development of your team. And, at Mentor, it's something that we're deeply passionate about. I can see you nodding away. You're passionate about it too. So, but I guess the closing thought, Bill, is that you don't just become a great coach overnight, do you? It takes time and practice, right?
Right. Every coach needs a coach. So those sales managers should be looking above them for coaching or around them, and it goes all the way up the ladder. I would say that instead of the chief revenue officer, they ought to be the chief coach of the sales organization. That would be my modest opinion on that.
Yeah. Great insights, and I appreciate those as always. And for you guys listening and watching, just take one thing away from this chat today that's going to be useful for you. If you're a coach, maybe you've taken more than one thing away. That's what we do these for. Simple, straightforward podcasts to give you something to help you out in your business or in your personal life. So Bill, as always, my friend, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate always being with you. And everybody stay safe out there during these turbulent times.
I couldn't agree more. Stay safe. Thanks for taking the time out, and we'll see you on another chat with Matt very soon. Right. Thank you.